Okay, so I went over KSW, I went over the Sea Org. Hubbard, once he gets out on the ocean, he has about, and you can go on the internet and see it, they're like, and I know these people now, they're all out. All the people that were his original staff have left Scientology. But they were young kids, you know, little girls in mini skirts, and he called them the Commodore's messengers, right? And I mean, some of the stories these people tell, you wouldn't believe it, you know, feeding him. And the guy was a fanatic. He couldn't have, you know, he got really crazier and crazier as the years went on. He couldn't stand scent. So this is a true story for me. My girlfriend and I used to snort candles. We'd go around and snort candles because you could never wear perfume. And we'd be like, oh, we love this scent. And you know, you think, how crazy is that? But you can't, this is a true story to give you an idea of scent. I was at one of their top training things in the course room. Now, in the old days, when I got in, they had 200 people on this course. By the time I got on it in 1999, there were 4 people on it, to give you an idea. I mean, dramatic decrease, right? And I said to my supervisor, can I go sit in there? Because that guy's trained on what I'm learning, and I need his supervision. He says, yeah, go on in. So I go in, and all of a sudden, I'm sitting there studying, and all of a sudden, I see this guy come up. Let's say that's my head, and he's going like this. I turn around like, what the hell is this? He's sniffing my hair. And he goes, you have scent in your hair. Get out of my course room. And he kicks me out. And I said, you know what, pal, give me a piece of paper. I'm writing a knowledge report on you. And I did. I sat down and I said, you want to know why it's gone from 200 people to 4 people? Because of morons like this. You know, that's why. I was really mad. Anyway, so Hubbard starts in. Are you all with me, or am I like going too far all over the place? Is it okay? It's so hard because it's 30 years. You know what I mean? Thank you. It's hard for me to tell if you can follow me or not. Anyway, okay, so I go into Sea Org. I'm routed out because of my medicine. Hubbard is out on the ocean so that nobody can get him. The IRS basically can't get him, right? Because he's on the ocean. And I know his top PR because I used to work in PR and I was very successful, but I was never trained in Hubbard's PR, right? And I said to her, Laurel Sullivan, I said, you know, I was pretty successful in PR, but these guys do things that are so stupid. I don't get it. And she said, you know what? I want you to know something. You were successful because you were never trained in Hubbard PR. She said, you have to know we were kicked out of every single port in the world when they were on the ship because they just did stupid things. You know, that's the way he is. I mean, they're doing him to this day. And I now that I'm out, it's like, why do they do that? But, you know, that's part of the policy. And don't forget, keeping Scientology working. So if you don't do it, Hubbard said you have to do this. If you don't do it, it's a high crime. You know, if you don't apply the tech correctly, he called it a high crime. Okay? So I'm sorry to keep bringing that up, but that's how many times they bring it up. So, you know, you kind of get the idea. In 1979, I got in 69. I get trained, I do some training, and I do, I think I did up through clear. In 79, I attest to clear. Okay, so now I'm going to go on to my OT levels. And remember, I have epilepsy, and most doctors don't know what causes epilepsy. And they'll say that, we don't know what it is. So finally, I get into this secret room for OT3, which is their big top secret stuff. And last weekend, we mentioned it at the Humanist Society, and the Scientologists were there, and once it came up, I said, well, you guys are OTs, right? Like, if they didn't want me to say it, they should have said, don't talk about it. But they don't want to say that because they know they'll sound like morons, right? So they say, yeah, we are. So I say, okay. So I start talking about the story, and at the end, when they get to talk, they go, Tory broke her promise. Why would you ever trust her? I didn't break my promise. I'm not a Scientologist anymore. Okay? It's like somebody who abuses you and says you can never talk about it. No. Hey, I can talk about it. Okay, so OT3, this is the truth. And this is now over $100,000 to get here. It's about $50 to hear this word. Write it down. Xenu. That's Xenu. Now you guys all got to know this because it's. Now I heard a minister telling this story in a church with 500 people, and he goes, "Okay, first of all, I want to tell you all that L. Ron Hubbard said, and he did, you could get pneumonia if you hear this information." And I'm warning you of that here too. So if you'd like to leave, that's what they did too. I mean, it's funny. But, you know, when you're in the Truman Show, it's like, wow, I could get pneumonia from this? And he says, I nearly died. And this is all on the internet. You can go on and read the whole story. It's very complex. But he said he nearly died doing the research on it. But now I've done it, and I offer it to you. Now, back when I got in, I did OT3 in 79. In 79, basically, all right, hang on one second. In 79, they put me in a little room. Now they have a huge course because they have to make sure you understand where the volcanoes are, because it turned out a lot of the volcanoes never even existed. So they, you know, that Hubbard said. But anyway, they put me in a room, they give me a pack, and they say, here it is. And I open it up, and it says 75 million years ago, there was an evil warlord named Xenu. And Xenu, because of overpopulation, tried to handle it by putting these people, blowing them up, putting them in volcanoes and blowing them up. Then their spirits got stuck on these ribbons. I mean, it's so weird when I tell it. You know, they got stuck on ribbons. They moved them into these theaters, flashed all these implant pictures on them, and now they've been let out into the universe, and your problems are all because you have these space aliens stuck on you. That's it. That's the $100,000 question, man. You go, what are they in there for? Why is Tom Cruise there and John Travolta? Because they don't have critical thinking. I heard John Travolta, who I love. I trained John Travolta in 1969 at Celebrity Center. And I love him. He's a great guy. But he's in the show, man. And I heard him the other night saying, you know what? The great thing about Scientology is you can confront evil. And I knew what he's talking about. He's talking about me and people like us who speak out. But that's not confronting evil. We're talking. If you could confront evil, he could come talk to me or Mark Bunker or any other critic around the world. But he can't. So that's not critical thinking, is it? No. So anyway, I do the OT3 thing. I get on it. And I think, well, Hubbard said, I nearly died doing it. And I think, well, maybe that's it. Maybe that's the cause of epilepsy, these BTs and clusters. He called them BTs, which are body thetans, and clusters, which are a bunch of body thetans. And remember, you've got the E-meter, which I haven't even gone into. How many guys are familiar with the E-meter? It's their little device. It's like a lie detector, which every time I heard that when I was in, I'd say, oh, that's not true at all. You know, it's our religious device. But the truth is, it is just like it is that. It measures resistance. And so you're using the E-meter. You have to locate these BTs, the body thetans, these dead spirits. You've got to find out. Anyway, it's too long to describe. Go on the internet and read it. But it's really weird, and you have to get rid of them. You have to get them to go away. And so you do this over and over. And for me, I was just like deluding myself, thinking I'm erasing epilepsy. That was all of what it was about for me. And you can talk to different people who did it, and they all each plugged it into their own personal thing of whatever it is. And Xenu, by the way, is locked inside of a mountain with electric beams, just so you know. That was always a little weird to me, too. It's like, if he's so evil, why did you let him be locked inside of some mountain? Why not just 86 the guy, right? But they had people called loyal officers who were making sure he was locked in the mountain. And some of the people that are real true believers think they're the loyal officers. So that's the other thing in Scientology. Dianetics actually got into it, of earlier lifetimes, past lifetimes. And this is a bit back, but in 69 I get in, I'm a hippie, and I sit down in Denny's down in Alvarado, because that's where Scientology was back then, the Celebrity Center, and I sit down in Denny's, and this guy says, I had the most incredible session. And I said, really? And he goes, yeah, I'm Julius Caesar. And I swear to God, I'm like, wow, I'm sitting with Julius Caesar. I was like, this is incredible. You know, I'm like, wow, I could have never got that in medical school. It's a good thing I got in Scientology. So then I talked to him for a while, and I said, you know, it's great meeting you. I'm going to pop over and see some other people. And I sit down at this other booth. It's a true story. This guy says, I had a great session. I said, really? What happened? He goes, I'm Julius Caesar. And I'm like, I Julius Caesar. But I can't say that because that would invalidate his win. See, and that's a high crime. See how that works? So even though you're going, this is horseshit, man. But you can't say it. Because that's a high crime. Because invalidating someone's case state is a high crime. So just like Travolta, if I went up to him and said, wake up, man, at least go on the internet and find out the other side, he'd just be looking at me, she's a suppressive person, don't talk to her, don't get it, right? I'm a critical thinking person. So anyway, 1979, I'm in Clearwater. This is another funny story. It just shows how I was such a true believer, I really was. And what had happened was, when I routed out Scientology, the Sea Org, these real witchy chicks said, you owe us $25,000 because you broke your contract. And I said, that's not true at all. You're routing me out because I need medicine. If anything, I could take you to court and sue you. But that's a high crime, too, if you ever take a Scientologist to court. So you can never, you have no option. It's like no union. You have nothing. And they're always right. Remember that. So, anyway, I wrote to Hubbard. I said, you know what, get away from me. Get me a piece of paper and a pencil. I'm going to write to the one man I know is sane. Now, I didn't know. You guys are so great. I love you. It's so fun talking to you. Such a great audience. It's really fun. Anyway, I write to him, and I didn't know that it's these other people answering it. I believed Hubbard wrote me, and he wrote me back and he said, you're right, they're incorrect. You only have to pay for this and this, and Tory, we will see you up the line. Like, get into the auditing, and we'll see you up the line. So to me, it was like a command from Hubbard going, okay, handle epilepsy with auditing, and then you'll be back in the Sea Org, right? So that kind of put me on my own path of like, the only person I'm listening to is L. Ron Hubbard, not anybody else. Which I'll get to, other things happen, and you'll go, why didn't she leave? But remember, Hubbard was my guy, that was it. So, 79, I moved to Clearwater. I'm there. I do my OT3. I have big wins on it at the time. I'm like, wow, this is fabulous. And they get with me. And there are people in Clearwater at this time in 79. They've got honk out Scientology. They have the city commissioner is running for mayor, and he's running a program called Save Sparkling Clearwater, Stamp Out Scientology, right? His whole program is get rid of Scientologists, they're liars. So this guy, Milt Wolf, calls me in. He's like with the Guardian's office, which is now the Office of Special Affairs. The Guardian's office was broken up after they broke into federal offices, stole paper, and 9 of them went to prison, including Mary Sue Hubbard, which is a whole nother story. But anyway, he says, look, we can't handle this because we did come here on a lie. And I say, what do you mean? And he said, well, here's the thing. L. Ron Hubbard was out in the ocean. They always have their stories, right? This is top secret. That's the first thing. It's top secret. You're the only person we're telling this to. That's public. But L. Ron Hubbard was coming onto land to form a land base. And he got word that the FBI were there and they were going to plant drugs on the ship and take him to prison. See, there's all these, you're built into these conspiracy theories from early on. So you're like, wow, really? And they said, yeah, that's the truth. So he came around to Clearwater, Florida, bought the Fort Harrison Hotel, but we lied and said we were this other religion rather than Scientology. Now, right away, you might think, well, why can't they just say they're Scientology? And I did too, but I was on the, I'm in the show, I'm going, I said, okay, fine, I'll do, what do you need me to do? And he said, go to meetings like this, where Richard Tenney is talking, and get him off the subject of Scientology. So I do that. This is the first volunteering I do for the Office of Special Affairs. And I spend months on it. I walk up to these old ladies, they're out in front of Scientology with their flags, they've got an American flag and stamp out Scientology and all this other stuff. And I say, and I'm carrying my son and he's crying. And I say, look what you're doing. You should be ashamed of yourself. We're a religion. What are you doing here upsetting people like that? You should put your flags down and go home. And she did. Right? And so I got good at, telling people this is my religion and you're upsetting me and da-da-da. And anyway, long story short, the guy runs for office and gets voted out in a landslide. So now I'm like the queen of the hop at Office of Special Affairs, right? Give it to Tory, she can handle it. So then we moved back to Los Angeles and I continue helping the Office of Special, I think I'm doing good things because it's my religion. The guy was there trying to honk out Scientology and get rid of it. So I'm with him. I think it's a good thing. So yeah, I'll help OSA. And they're like, you know, Tory, can you do this? Can you do that? But they only give you as much as you can do, right? They also, earlier on, I had been at Celebrity Center, and they realized that celebrities obviously are a great asset, right, that they can use in getting more public in. Now, the other day, this is an approved project for honorary LRH PRs, public relations. And it says that first you have to get written permission from your assistant guardian to do this, right? Gather success stories from Scientologists in your local area. Study the successful actions of Yvonne Jentz, who was very successful as celebrity. She started it. Find out the name of all of the information about the mayor in your city. Find out what the mayor is good at and excels in. Have a plaque prepared for the mayor. Make an appointment to present this plaque to the mayor with your local AG. And then it goes on to say, if possible, arrange that keys to the city will be presented back to you as part of this presentation. Right? So when you go to the L. Ron Hubbard Life Exhibition, the last thing they open up, there's like 80 million keys to the city, right? But they've weaseled the whole thing, right? Anyway, that's just one of their things. Let me see. I got to get through this because I don't have much time. How much more time do I have?
Keep going.
All right, so anyway, we get Richard Tenney out. I moved back here. In '82, they have a thing called the Mission Holders Conference. The missions were like the little part of Scientology. It had the missions, which were the field group that basically got people into Scientology. Then they had the orgs, or the churches, which you see the big blue complex. That's more organizations and their upper organization. And then they had the advanced organization, where they do the OT levels. And then they have FLAG, which is in Clearwater, Florida. And they also have their secret compound, which when you're in Scientology, you can never know this. But it's out in Hemet, California. And I didn't know it, but one night I'm with a guy, one of the executives, going to someone's home for Narconon, that was going to get on the drug program. And we're driving down this dark road. It's completely dark. And you have to realize I'd been in at the time like 20 years. I had no idea where the Golden Era Studios was or in management. And all of a sudden I see these gigantic white signs, "Welcome to Golden Era Studios," right? Which is INT, which is their secret base. And I say to him, "What the hell is that?" And he goes, "Well, you didn't see it, first of all." And he says, "Secondly, we had to do that because our PR was so bad in Hemet because we had the secret compound, so we had to open it up to the public." So they do that, like they'll invite people in, they give you their little phony tour. It's not really what's going on there, but it's what they want you to see for that kind of thing. So the public knows where it is. It's been in the papers and people know where it is, but Scientologists don't know where it is. It's weird.